children?
Good morning, Miss Cashion.
In my class I have an age range from 6 to 8 years and 5 months. And within that age range I have 28 children who are working at varying levels. Who would like to go first? Would you like to get your book and show us what you found out about the whale? Usually we have a get-together at 9 o'clock in the morning. I like them all to come together at this time, and they show what they've been working on, and if children have questions to ask, they're able to do so, and then the children go on to say what they would like to do for the day.
And all the water that goes into his mouth comes out a little hole up there, and the plankton's trapped inside.
You know something special about a whale? I like this way of teaching very much more than the old way. Every day something new is happening.
20.
20. How far was he away from possessing?
1.
1 kilogram. She weighs 1 kilogram heavier or lighter? Lighter. 1 kilogram lighter. Is she still the lightest person in the room? Yes. Now perhaps, Jared, today you could find out the difference between the lightest and the heaviest person in our class. Well, thank you, Mary. People who are doing the plan. Did you bring some more boxes today? Move off to work. You may move off if you have something that you have to continue. They're able to move into any area in the room or in the corridor which belongs to us, and they can go on with any project or interest or anything that they would like to. It's a very informal approach. The children are working at their own levels with their own interests. I think doing projects is very valuable because they are doing things which they are really interested in. Well, 2 little girls were very interested in finding out how many teachers were at our school, which led on to how many buildings, how many classrooms, how many libraries. They decided then to make a plan of the school, and from there they went on to make a model. They're conversing together. They're doing a certain amount of calculating, they're estimating, and they're experiencing things that they wouldn't do if it was in a formal situation.
Perhaps you could paint their green here, there and here.
Sometimes you might notice that you need to encourage a child or channel him towards something that he has to grasp to do, but usually you find very few children want to go back to doing something that is very easy. Today we're going to have a game together with words. So who has the word? Some of them like to work together. I quite often find that a child that's, say for instance 8 and would be working at grade 2 level, will work with a child in grade 1, which is also very good for that child. You see children helping one another.
Now, where will orange go? God, we're doing a lot of giggles. There's another one. How do you spell ranch? Don't cut your throat if there's a finger. Look, here's my hair. You sure? You sure?
I find that with this vertical grouping, I have a lot more time for individual teaching and also developing children in smaller groups. What are you going to do here, Roger?
I'm going to make a question graph.
Yes. You're going to put that up here, are you?
Mrs. Cashion, play.
Yes. What are you making it about?
About what is done in a factory, house, school, shop, church, hall, post office, bank, library and garage.
And how are you going to make it?
I'm going to put the first thing on here.
Yes. Well, you could go and get a ruler.
Look at all the shoes. What a lot of shoes.
I have a system where each child has a reading card of their own. And as they complete a book, then I mark it off and they move on to the next book, which would be just that little bit harder. One child might be using 4 schemes at once, and they can choose which scheme they're going to read each day. The children like a challenge, and they like to see where they're progressing, and the reading card enables them to do this. With the other subjects, I have a ticking off sheet at the back of the room which covers a fortnight, and they can go off after completing their spelling, for instance, and tick off on that particular day. Also, the sheets cover written expression, maths and reading. Yes, we'll do whatever you would like to do.
Can we go out to the big library and the little library and see if we can find any books about fish?
What kind of fish did you want to find about?
Any kind of fish.
Any kind of fish. All right then. If they want to do some research, as long as they tell me that they would like to go, they can go into the library, they look up the particular subject and then find the book for themselves, and they've discovered it for themselves.
Look through the indexes. They have to look straight through the pages. Oh, great.
They come back then and they'll report to the rest of their friends or go on working at their interest. Which words have you found this morning?
Dairy, stiff,
And fairy. So what did you add to on the end of dairy? Yes, well, perhaps you could do the same to fairy.
We get how big the dolphin's brain is.
One particular boy was unfortunate enough to have a whole year off school. This child, being older, finds the need to do a more extended project. Well, this is what I feel we need to be doing with a brighter child, letting him extend and broaden. Some children like to read just for pleasure at some time during the day. I've got a small library in my class available to them. One area, they just automatically move on to another area. They might want to go on to doing their spelling or their reading or their maths. I like a bit of working chatter. And I find that children in this situation don't abuse this. They're not wanting to, make unnecessary noise because they're working at the things that they find interesting to them. A child might be doing perhaps his maths problems and they go on regardless. They don't even notice the noise that goes on around them in the room. Wait till I stop that one. Yeah. Packing up time now, children. Come onto the blue mat. Ready for lunch. Jared, you listening? I find the need to bring the children together in groups to teach them a lesson, to have a formal lesson. Turning round this way, thank you. Something very different. What's this word say? And what does this word say? Yes, and what do you notice about those two words?
If there's somebody and another second down and they
Yes, they both sound the same. I have an attainment book which has each child's name, and there's a progression through maths, written expression and reading, and periodically I check this. If a child has completed a particular unit, I tick it off. As well as having this, I do a study on every child in the class. If I have a problem child, I find the need to write something perhaps every day so that I can look back and see how the particular child's progressed. I have another book which I call a review book. I like to jot down any particular formal thing that I have taught. We have levels of learning that we like the children to complete before they go to grade 3. Some children in any system would not get to the same level as others, but we do like to make sure that if possible, that the children can achieve those levels.
Yes.
Now Angela's got to do her collage. All right then. Off you go. No, you're not. Fergus, what are you going to do? You're going to have it first. You're going to get it ready, aren't you? Pardon? What are you going to do to it now then? You just have to try and paint over it now. It's over here, dear. You're supposed to be asking me. I think there's a need for every media of creative activity in a room. I have an area which we call our craft corner, and I have different kinds of things which I think will stimulate the children. Most important of all is self-expression. I like to encourage impromptu drama. When they're making up a play, they always choose one person whom they call a producer, and that person is allowed to nominate the different characters. Who else? Who else do you know? I find that by dressing up, the very quiet ones that are usually inhibited really excel themselves. You have to hold them up. Put your hand up and hold them. You should have a bag.
The prince.
As much as it would be ideal for every child to be able to do their own maths, for instance, from environmental things, we find that we do have to implement with graded material, and there are 7 levels in the groundwork maths, which covers counting, money, maths, weighing, and so forth. And really, if a child experiences this kit, from when they come into my class in grade 1 until they enter lower primary, they've covered a wide variety of maths. Monsieur?
I'm painting the flag.
What kind of flag?
I forget the name now.
Where did you see that flag?
I was in Belinda's book.
As they complete a project, they say, well, I'd like to display it, and they actually display with your assistance. Now I think it's rather exciting, and the children like to see one another's work.
Now who are you, Virginia? Fairy. Ugly queen. No, you're good queen.
During the drama time, I'm involved very little because I do very little direction at all.
And I'm Sleeping Beauty. Who's King? It's a witch.
Go and pick yours up. As a teacher, I feel that I'm encouraging children to develop. I think children today need to be able to adapt themselves to the changing society. I feel in learning they need to be able to integrate maths and reading and spelling, as well as channeling towards making themselves self-reliant in the community in which they live.
You can mark them up on the wall, please.
I think it's just as important as all the formal subjects that we can offer to them. When I first started teaching, every child in a class was doing exactly the same thing at exactly the same level, which now, thinking back, really saddens me. I wonder who's ready first for our discussion. Adrian and James? Use nice big voices, please, so we can all hear.
This afternoon, James and I did this page about dolphins. Dolphins are parts of the whale family. The blue whale is the largest animal that ever lived.
Yes, could you tell us something about your page, James? Which part did you do?
Well, I did the dolphin and that little blue whale, and I did that fish too.
This is my 4th year of working in this vertical grouping. And even though we have been working at this system for 4 years, there's a need to rethink and a need to improve all the time. We're still really learning and doing what we think is best for the child. Children who are doing the play go to the front of the class. Those at the audience move on to the blue mat, please. It might be a good idea if we move off the blue mat and put it back a little bit further, so stand up off the blue mat. That's right. Stephen can come back and sit next to me. Everyone's sitting on the blue mat now. Yes. Stephen, come back next to me, that's right. Move back James Plunkett and Jodie. Right back.